Greetings, fellow Toastmasters. We're in our August, seems like we have a little bit of a vacation going, but we have vacationer coming back. We look forward to hearing that. Welcome to Golden Speakers Toastmasters. We meet every Tuesday evening in the Hy-Vee Club Room at the west end of the store, end of the ice cream aisle. Come on down, bring your shopping list. You can get your public speaking done and also your shopping. We love to have guests. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and welcome up our president, Rick Starr.
Thank you, Jean. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, fellow Golden Speakers and our guest. Samuel, could you tell us what brought you here tonight? Yeah, just stand up.
Yeah, thank you. I heard about the program through my friend Isaac. It's really interesting and impressive. Because, one can go with his education, but at the end of the day, you have to be converted into a job, so you have to be, have some credit with it. So it needs some social skills, so you can easily get focus on the employer or anybody else. So once you have the required thing that you get from education, if there is value in social skills or the way to express his knowledge or something, it will be hard. So I think this program helps a lot, especially it helps a lot during the school, but it might also help a lot in the after-school programs. So once you finish school, you're going to go to some jobs, and then it helps a lot, I think. Thank you.
Well, Isaac is the odd counter now.
Okay, cool. Okay. Is he set up?
He's set up.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Very good.
So after tonight's meeting, we're going to have a brief new Toastmaster orientation. Isaac, we'd like to invite you, Steve. We'd like to invite you and anyone else who is fairly new or would like a refresher. Jean and Prana are going to be staying afterwards and telling you about our educational programs, the two tracks, the communication track and the leadership track. And I think it will be very interesting and worthwhile staying for. If anyone has one of these on their person, please turn it off. Don't even have it on vibrate, because if someone's speaking in, they hear that little buzzing, it might throw them off their game completely. So please turn that off. As a reminder, I may have said this before, if you have a role, please bring your competent leader manual. And this is the easiest way to get credit for the roles you take, because you're going to do them anyway. Why not get them evaluated and work towards your competent leadership award? I'd like to read the club mission. We provide a safe, supportive, and positive learning experience in which club members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And last but not least, we have fun doing it. We have a great meeting today. We have two speakers, each giving a speech from the Competent Communicator Manual and one speech from the Advanced Manual. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Toastmaster, Jean Symington Craig.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to go ahead, Prana?
Yep.
This is going to go ahead. I've already got Isaac set up for odd counter. Is that still okay with you, Isaac?
Yeah.
And Santori, are you good for table topics, Master? You're in the schedule? Are you Santori or Rush?
Yeah, but I thought I did the
You are, but you're also the table topics master. Okay,
I can
So,
do
you
it.
just-
Skip time.
no. Okay, so dear members, you may have multiple assignments, so don't stop on the first time you see your name, because we may be you're just so good. We may just have you assigned several other places. So Troy, you can kind of think of some questions? Of course. All right. Okay, I think we're ready. Fasten your seatbelts. Let's go ahead and hear from our self-discovery. I'm going to read really fast. It's a very long quote picked out by our Vice President of Education. Bottom line is, even if you see them coming, you're not ready for the big moments. No one asked for their life to change, not really. So where are we? Helpless. The big moments are going to come. You can't help that. It's what you do afterwards that counts. That's when you find out who you are. Okay. All right, role players. Our first role player is our timer, Sujit.
Table topics are 1 to 2 minutes, minute speeches. Green light to turn on at 1 minute, and yellow light is turned on at 1 minute 30 seconds. The red light is turned on at 2 minutes and remaining until the end of the speech. For prepared speeches, we have 5 to 7 minutes. Green lights will be turned on at 5 minutes, yellow light at 6, and red light is turned on at 7 minutes. And then for our evaluations, we have 3 minutes. Green light will turn on at 2 minutes. Yellow light is turned on at 2 minutes 30 seconds, and red light is turned on at 3 minutes, and remaining on until the end of the evaluation.
And you also have a longer speech. Did you cover the timing, how you're going to do that? I might have spaced out.
For the longer speech, we have 8 minutes for the green light, 9 minutes for the yellow, and red at 10.
Okay, and you've checked the lights. Normally we would, as you say, green light, you would hit the green so everyone see. Yeah.
We have green light,
yellow light, and red light. Okay, so let's all be watching how the rolls are done because you never know, it could be your turn next. Thank you very much. Our next role player is our grammarian, Maya too.
As a grammarian is to pay attention to the creative use of language and also language use that will be improved. It is also my job to introduce the word of the day. It is adjective. Vigorous means done with great force and energy. Here's an example. Besides being our guardian angels, they are also vigorous cheerleaders. So you are encouraged to use the word of the day, and I will count how frequent this word has been used, and I will give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Then we have our odd counter tonight, Isaac.
My role tonight is as an counter, or counting the filler words like so, but, and, time please, pause. That will be implementing my
Our general evaluator will be Rick Starr, and we'll hear from him later in the evening. And Santoria, I know it's hard for you to do funny things. Are you prepared to do a joke tonight?
Yeah, I'm prepared to do a joke.
Okay, so we'll hear from our joke master as well later. We're good, we're on time. Now we're ready to go into our meat and potatoes, or veggie burgers and potatoes, whatever is your preference, of the evening, which is our prepared speeches. And our first speaker is going to be Andal Krishna, and her evaluator is going to be me. So let me just grab her manual. Here we go. Love multiple roles. Andal is going to be working from the Competent Communicator, and she's doing project number 7, research her topic. The objectives of her speech are to collect information about a topic from numerous sources. So we're looking for sources and research variety. Carefully support her points and opinions with specific facts, examples, and illustrations gathered through research. Her time is going to be 5 to 7 minutes. By way of introduction of Andal, Andal is a successful homemaker and passionate about her work. She is self-motivated. Her inquisitive nature helps her learn new things. Her mornings start with her quiet time, diving within herself in meditation, which she believes gives her positive energy to keep her going throughout her day's work. Life brings happiness and sadness, and she strives hard to keep her positive energy high, though she is not successful always, but most of the time. But keeps trying, in my experience. The title of her speech is When Your Mind Can Conceive It and Your Heart Can Believe It, You Can Achieve It. Please help me warmly welcome Andal.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. When your mind can conceive it, your heart can believe it, you can achieve it. By Jesse Jackson. Your mind, body, and your emotions are connected with your brain. I'm going to speak about how to achieve a happy mind and have it connected with your body and mind by using your brain optimally. We are gifted with this incredible organ with 100 billions of nerve cells and making these intricate connections with the neural network with hundreds of trillions of connections within the brain. But most of us do not take the advantage of this beautiful organ. We just let it sit there the way it is. Most of the time, we let the brain passively use us. Research and breakthroughs have shown that brain has a potential power to accomplish, but it's we set limitations to this and do not have the complete potential, do not get the complete potential of the brain. It was when I see this table, I say, I see a table. So what's happening is the light is passing through my eyes and the light impulse is converted and my brain is processing it and sending me the image of the table. Say for instance, an external incident makes me disappointed. Immediately my brain sends me sadness. Well, when I'm sad, I say I'm sad. No, when my brain brought this image of the table, my brain didn't say I'm the table. But what's happening when I'm sad, I'm connecting myself with this negative emotion and I become that and I live and so I feel that I'm sad. When I disconnect myself from this negative emotion, I don't feel sad. So this is the key for one to practice to disconnect yourself from the negative emotion in order to be happy. Well, during my final year, when I was doing a master's program in science, we had quite busy schedule. And one day, a student from art department walked into our classroom and she asked if any one of us were interested to participate in a fine arts competition. I could hear whispers behind my friends who were talking, but nobody spoke. Nobody volunteered. I raised my hand and I gave my name to most of the competition with passion and enthusiasm. One of the competition was soap carving, which I didn't have any experience. On the day before the competition, few hours before, I practiced soap for the first time and I walked into the competition room. Love was the theme. I carved a mother nursing her baby. All I remember was I enjoyed and I was in the moment and I did it with passion. Although I didn't have experience with soap carving, creativity took over when I started my soap and started to carve. The next day when I walked to my school, my friends congratulated me saying that I won second place in soap carving. You don't know what your brain can do until you put your brain into test and push all the limits that you have been imposing on yourself. The first rule of your brain is that your brain always eavesdrops on your thoughts. It listens and leans. If you teach your brain to be limited, it will become limited. But if you teach it the opposite way, to be unlimited, you won't know what your brain can do until you test the limits and push beyond them. No matter how inefficiently your brain is going to be working, it is certain that it is the gateway for your future success. Because your success in life depends on your brain for one certain reason, one simplest reason, that all your experiences come through your brain. We can train our brain to overcome everyday challenges like anxiety, depression, memory loss. Once your brain unleashes the power, you will find that how much of awareness you will gain, and in turn, you will have a healthier body, happier mind, and unlimited growth. Research has shown that brain is always changing. It has the ability to adapt. It is a dynamic organ, and everything that you experience from your outside world and from within your own mind is changing at the chemical level, and each and every nerve cell is changing and it is making its own connection, and even changes happen at the genetical level. You can create the world you want around you by just using your brain optimally. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker, thank you very much, Angal. Our next speaker is 2 minutes for evaluating Angal. Our next speaker is going to be Jean Craig, speaking from an advanced manual, and his evaluator, and to introduce him, is Greg Starr.
Thank you, Jean. Fellow Golden speakers, honored guests, and viewers at home. Dan is speaking from the advanced manual called Interpretive Reading. This is unique in Toastmasters manuals in that for all the other manuals, we say our own thoughts, we develop our own speech, and we have to be convincing in saying our own thoughts. But this, we're speaking other people's thoughts. The The first project Dan's working on is Project 1, which is read a story. The objectives are to understand the elements of interpretive reading, to learn how to analyze a narrative and plan for effective interpretation, and to learn and apply vocal techniques that will aid in the effectiveness of the reading. Dan has been a member of Golden Speakers for almost 5 years. He's married to Jean Symington Craig, who listens to his speeches and gives him valuable constructive feedback. They have 2 dogs who also listen to Dan's speeches, but have chosen not to give feedback, at least so far. The story he will read tonight, The Retrieved Reformation, by O. Henry, was published in 1903. This was just 2 years after the author was released from prison, following a 3-year sentence for embezzling funds from a bank in Austin, Texas. Speech is 8 to 10 minutes. Retrieved information, Dan Craig.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. Our story begins with the main character, Jimmy Valentine, getting out of prison. He's a bank robber, a safe cracker. And he's getting out. When he makes his way out of prison, he goes back to his old home. He retrieves a dusty old suitcase which has the finest set of safe cracking tools in the eastern U.S. And banks start to be robbed again. The detective that sent him away the first time is named Ben Price, and Ben starts to see these various robberies happening. And he knows from the skill of the safe cracking that's going on that Jimmy is out there again. He has to track him down. We pick up the story when Jimmy is arriving in a small town. Presumably he's come to take a look at the bank. One afternoon, Jimmy Valentine and his suitcase climbed out of the mail hack in Elmore, a little town 5 miles off the railroad in the blackjack country of Arkansas. Jimmy, looking like an athletic young senior just home from college, went down the board sidewalk toward the hotel. A young lady crossed the street, passed him at the corner, and entered a door over which was the sign, the Elmore Bank. Jimmy Valentine looked into her eyes, forgot what he was, and became another man. She lowered her eyes and colored slightly. Young men of Jimmy's style and looks were scarce in Elmore. Jimmy colored a boy that was loafing on the steps of the bank as if he were one of the stockholders and began to question him about the town, feeding him dimes at intervals. By and by, the young lady came out looking royally unconscious of the young man with the suitcase and went her way. "Isn't that young lady Miss Polly Simpson?" asked Jimmy with specious guile. "No," said the boy. "She's Annabelle Adams. Her pa owns this bank. What'd you come to Elmore for? Is that a gold watch chain? I'm going to get a bulldog. Got any more dimes?" Jimmy went to the Planters Hotel, registered as Ralph E. Spencer, and engaged a room. He leaned on the desk and declared his platform to the clerk. He had come to Elmore to seek a location to go into business. How was the shoe business now in the town? He had thought of the shoe business. Was there an opening? At this point in the story, there's a brief interlude, and we're going to pick it up a year later. But in that year, Jimmy has made a successful shoe store. He's made a lot of friends in town. He's met Annabelle Adams, courted her, and they're engaged to be married in 2 weeks. Jimmy sits down and writes a letter at this point to a friend of his, says, "Please meet me in Little Rock. Next Wednesday, I'm going to give you my suitcase full of tools. I don't need them anymore. I've gone straight. I'm not the most wonderful woman in the world. I don't want to do anything criminal ever again." On the Monday night after Jimmy wrote this letter, Ben Price jogged unobtrusively into Elmore in a livery buggy. He lounged about the town in his quiet way. until he found out what he wanted to know. From the drugstore across the street, from Spencer's shoe store, he got a good look at Ralph D. Spencer. Going to marry the banker's daughter, are you, Jimmy? Ben said to himself softly. Well, I don't know. The next morning, Jimmy took breakfast at the Adamses. He was going to Little Rock that day in order to order his wedding suit and buy something nice for Annabelle. That would be the first time that he left town since he came to Elmore. It had been more than a year now since those last professional jobs, and he thought he could safely venture out. After breakfast, quite a family party went downtown together. Mr. Adams, Annabelle, Jimmy, and Annabelle's married sister with her two little girls aged 5 and 9. They came by the hotel where Jimmy still boarded, and he ran up to his room and brought along his suitcase. Then they went on to the bank. There stood Jimmy's horse and buggy and Dolph Gibson, who was going to drive them over to the railroad station. All went inside the high carved oak railings into the banking room, Jimmy included, for Mr. Adams' future son-in-law was welcome anywhere. The clerks were pleased to be greeted by the good-looking, agreeable young man who was going to marry Miss Annabelle. Jimmy set his suitcase down. Annabelle, whose heart was bubbling with youthful liveliness, put on Jimmy's hat and picked up the suitcase. Wouldn't that make a nice drummer? Said Annabelle. My, Ralph, how heavy it is. It feels like it was full of gold bricks. Lots of nickel-plated shoehorns in there, said Jimmy coolly, that I'm going to return. Thought I'd save express charges by taking them up. I'm getting awfully economical. The Elmore Bank had just put in a new safe and vault. Mr. Adams was very proud of it and insisted on an inspection by everyone. The vault was a small one, but it had a new patented door. It fastened with 3 solid steel bolts thrown simultaneously with a single handle and had a time lock. Mr. Adams beamingly explained its workings to Mr. Spencer, who showed a courteous but not too intelligent interest. The 2 children, May and Agatha, were delighted by the shiny metal and funny clock and knobs. While they were thus engaged, Jim Price sauntered in and leaned on his elbow, looking casually between the railings. He told the teller he didn't want anything. He was just waiting for a man he knew. Suddenly, there was a scream or two from the women and a commotion. Unperceived by the elders, May, the 9-year-old girl, in a spirit of play, had shut Agatha in the vault. Then she had shot the bolts and turned the knob of the combination, as she had seen Mr. Adams do. The old banker sprang to the handle and tugged at it for a moment. The door can't be opened, he groaned. The clock hasn't been wound nor the combination set. Agatha's mother screamed again hysterically. Hush, said Mr. Adams, raising his trembling hand. I'll be quiet for a moment. Agatha, he called as loudly as he could. Listen to me. During the following silence, they could just hear the faint sound of the child wildly shrieking in the dark vault in a panic of terror. My precious darling, wailed the mother, she will die of fright. Open the door, oh, break it open. Can't you men do something? There isn't a man there in the Little Rock who can open that door, said Mr. Adams in a shaky voice. My God, Spencer, what shall we do? That child, she can't stand it long in there. There isn't enough air. Besides, she'll go into convulsions from fright. Agatha's mother, frantic now, beat the door of the vault with her hands. Somebody wildly suggested dynamite. Annabelle turned to Jimmy, her large eyes full of anguish, but not yet despairing. Can you do something, Ralph? Try, won't you? He looked at her with a queer, soft smile on his lips and in his keen eyes. Annabelle, he said, give me that rose you're wearing, will you? Hardly believing that she heard him aright, she unpinned the bud from the bosom of her dress and placed it in his hand. Jimmy stuffed it into his vest pocket, drew up his coat, and pulled up his shirt sleeves. With that act, Ralph D. Spencer passed away, and Jimmy Valentine took his place. Get away from the door, all of you, he commanded shortly. He set his suitcase on the table and opened it out flat. From that time on, he seemed to be unconscious of the presence of anyone else. He laid out the shiny, queer implement swiftly and orderly, whistling to himself as he always did when at work. In a deep silence and immovable, The others watched him as if under a spell. In a minute, Jimmy's pet drill was biting smoothly into the steel door. In 10 minutes, breaking his own burglar's record, he threw back the bolts and opened the door. Agatha, almost collapsed but safe, was gathered into her mother's arms. Jimmy Valentine put on his coat and walked outside the railing toward the front door. As he went, he heard a faraway voice that he once knew call, "Ralph?" But he never hesitated. At the door, a big man stood somewhat in his way. "Hello, Ben," said Jimmy, still with his strange smile. "Got around at last, have you? Well, let's go. I don't know that it makes much difference now." And then Ben Price acted rather strangely. "Guess you're mistaken, Mr. Spencer," he said. "Don't believe I recognize you. Your buggy's waiting for you, ain't it?" And Ben Price turned and strolled down the street.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Craig. Mr. Timer, will you give us 2 minutes then? Great. Our final speaker is going to be Susanna McCann, and her evaluator and the individual who will be introducing her is Emery Stern. Please help me warmly welcome Emery.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. Susanna McCann will be speaking to us from the Competent Communicator Manual Project to Organize Your Speech. I want to give you her objectives. Select an appropriate outline which allows listeners to easily follow and understand the speech. Make the message clear. The supporting material directly contribute to that message. And use appropriate transitions when moving from one idea to another. And create a strong opening and a strong conclusion. And did I mention the focus of this is organize your speech. Susanna has been a member of our club about 2 months and has lived in Fairfield for 30 years. In her talk tonight, she's going to draw from years of vigorous Taoist Qigong practice, and she's going to show in her talk how the structure of the human body opens a window to knowledge of the divine. Certainly a fascinating topic. So please welcome Susanna. Her speech topic is the human body as a microcosm of creation. Excuse me.
Thank you, officers, fellow members of Toastmasters, and honored guests. Tonight, as my eloquent introducer said, I'll be talking about the structure of the human body as understood in the Taoist Qigong system and how it maps practically any understanding of life, any religion, any system of philosophy, or anything else, and gives deeper understanding and brings those different systems into practical application in many different areas of life. In fact, I could almost have used Andal's title for this, and it's a little bit of an extension of that, of Andal's topic. How many of you have read or heard of the Tao Te Ching? Okay, it's a very beautiful, sort of poetic, abstract explanation of the nature of reality and the nature of moving through life and the nature of the universe and how individuals interact with the universe. And it's quite abstract and poetic, and actually, in a sense, sort of gives you the experience as you're reading through the Tao Te Ching. Very profound, very similar to many systems of philosophy. Qigong is like an applied value of Taoism, and it involves developing the human body and the human physiology and the whole human system to be more and more capable of greater and greater experience of reality and engagement with life and Tao, the cosmos, whatever you want to call it. One central feature of Taoist Qigong and the understanding of the structure of the human body is something called the three treasures of Taoism and the three treasures of Qigong. Has anybody here practiced Qigong? Also, okay, good. So what we have is we have what's called the three treasures in Qigong, and they map onto the human body. One is associated with the head, which is also called the upper dantian in Qigong. It's like the upper center, in a sense. And there's a quality of energy associated with this upper dantian, located in the head, that has to do with purpose, focus, pattern, intelligence, image, that kind of thing. And we can experience this, just to give you a very, very brief flavor. If you just tap on the top of your head, I invite you to do that. We can enliven this upper dantian just a little bit by tapping on the top of our head and breathing in through our nostrils. Just feel that energy coming in through your nostrils and enlivening your head. Like that, okay? Now see if you notice that your head is a little bit more enlivened. The second of the three treasures is located in the heart. It's called the middle dantian in Qigong. And the heart is considered the center of another quality of energy called qi. And qi is like the life energy that flows through the entire body and brings vitality to the whole body. So the heart not only pumps blood, but it also circulates this subtler energy of qi. And the qualities of the heart have to do with communication and connection. The heart is the center one of these three centers, and it connects everything else. It's the center on the vertical level, and it's the center horizontally. You know, it's the center of all of that. And also, of course, it's known as the seat of love. Love is the force that connects and unifies opposite values. And so that's the quality of the heart center. And you can I invite you, we'll enliven that just very, very briefly. Put your hands over your heart and close your eyes and just let your awareness drop into your heart. Settle down into your heart, and as though breathe in and out through your heart. Okay, that's just a very faint taste of enlivening that center. The third of the three treasures is located in the abdomen, and this is the lower center, and it's considered the biggest of all these centers. The quality of energy that's associated with the lower dantian, or the third treasure, is called Jing. And that has to do with more physical, sexual energy. And the purpose, the function of this lower dantian is the kind of energy that brings creation into form. It has to do more with the material aspect of creation and relates to the body a bit more specifically. Now, these three treasures are integrated in Qigong practice. Most Qigong practices involve all of these three treasures, and when you can integrate them and bring them together, then that's very powerful for development. And this is useful even in something like taking a walk, for example. Taking a walk in nature, for example, you can appreciate and enjoy the beauty in creation and appreciate the energies of heaven coming from the trees and the sky and the light. You can appreciate that, bring that into your heart, breathe it into your whole body, and it's a much more powerful, effective practice than, for example, mindlessly walking on a treadmill, where you aren't integrating those three treasures. So the whole universe is really contained in this 3-in-1 structure. And I think we'll conclude there. There's a lot more that could be said, but I hope I've given a flavor of that. Sorry. Oh, thank you.
All right. We have 2 minutes to evaluate Susanna's speech. All right. We're going to now move into our evaluation phase. I think we've had a couple of people here who we must be needing to hear about energy and enlivening ourselves so we can become more vigorous, because we're evidently needing a little bit more of that. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome up our general evaluator, Rick Starr.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow golden speakers, other guests, and viewers at home. Before we begin our evaluations, this afternoon Jean sent me the Effective Evaluation Handbook. And she suggested I look through this and there may be some pointers for the club. Evaluation is the keystone of successful communication in Toastmasters. I'll just give a brief touch on some of the points here. It says when you're evaluating, it's to provide an honest reaction in a constructive manner to the speaker's efforts, using the evaluation guides provided. I think we do a good job of that. We're always positive. We try to give constructive criticism. How to prepare as an evaluator: you should read the project, read the evaluation guide for the project, and talk with the speaker before the speech. Again, we do at least some of this. We ask you to read the project if it's a CC in the CC manual, or if it's from an advanced manual, we ask you as a speaker to send it to our evaluator so he or she can become familiar with it. And how you say it is, remember that you're speaking only for yourself. You're just giving an opinion. You're not speaking for the group. Again, I think we do a fair job of this. None of our evaluations are overpowering or overly authoritative. One thing we may not do as well is the delivery. You're not giving a speech in that you don't try to embellish it with vocal variety or stage movement or extra dramatics. You're giving a speech to provide constructive criticism to the speaker. I guess this is mostly a reminder to me and other general evaluators that when we're evaluating evaluators, we don't look to see if they've done any of the kind of stagecraft of speaking. The only time they would do it is if you're illustrating a point. Say you're recommending to the speaker to use more vocal variety, and you could use vocal variety as part of the example. If you're recommending to the speaker that they use more stage movement, you could move to show that, to give an example. So I think we're doing a pretty good job. Thank you, Jean, for sending this to us. It's always important that we try to do better, that we have continuous improvement of our speaking and evaluating skills. So now I'd like to introduce Jean, who will give the evaluation of Amel's speech.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. I am going to make some comments about research. This is project number 7, and 7, 8, 9, and 10 in the Conflict Communicator Manual are giving you additional tools for your toolbox. So you learn how to give specific kinds of speeches. So this is the first one in that series. The research is to learn how to research, basically, your topic. So with that in mind, we'll talk a little bit more about that. How well did the speaker's topic apply to the audience? Andal, very well, I thought. We all have brains. Might be nice to know how to use them more effectively. I thought that was going to be pretty good. Was the topic well researched? Now this would be the point that I would say, if she were to give this speech again in the future, she'd want to focus on this, because that's actually the point. In the manual, choose a subject that will interest your listeners, one that requires a large amount of research. Collect information from numerous sources. This will be the most thoroughly researched presentation you have given to date. Now, she may have researched this, but we don't know because she didn't specifically mention her research sources and cite them. So, for example, when she often said, research has shown, instead of saying it that way, she could have said, according to the Neurological Institute's annual paper in 2015, And what that does is it enhances her already strong delivery with credibility. It's like, oh, it's not just Andal saying that, it's the Neurological Institute of like that. Okay, so that would be the main thing. That's what this project is trying to teach you to do. You want to be adding publication, information, expert quotes, statistics, professional organizations that have said certain things, and you want to cite them, because that's how you wow your audience. You know your stuff, because it's according to this, this, this. Does that make sense? Okay. Just on her own, though, she was very convincing, I felt, what was the speaker's purpose. It was informative. It was encouraging us to start to use our brains. Her organization was good. She talked about how the brain interacted with an emotion and what's happening during all of those steps like that. So that was a thing. I kept waiting for her to say, according to the research, Okay, so this thing, that may be a filler word. Not a lot of vocal variety or body language, but she was convincing and forceful. Basically, the research would be the thing to do. Everyone gets that, so it's a learning opportunity. But what I liked was she was very convincing personally on the need to understand and apply, and she used some personal examples, so carving and like that for creativity.
Now I'd like to introduce myself to give an evaluation of Dan's speech. As I mentioned in the introduction, the interpretive reading manual is unique. and that you're speaking other people's thoughts. You have to do so in a convincing manner. I'm going to go through the points in the manual. Was the theme understandable and the storyline clear? Yes, very clear. The story led itself well to this narrative explanation. To what degree did the speaker achieve the author's purpose in projecting the meanings and emotions of the message? Well, this was a story of a man transformed by love. It started out with a description of his career as a bank robber, then lightning struck, and it ended with him using his tools and his skills for good. Did the speaker emphasize the words which were important in revealing the narratives and emotions? Not only did Dan use words, but the characters spoke in this very convincing Texas drawl. How'd you come up with that? And it made the story even more enjoyable. Did the speaker build to the story? How did the speaker build to the story's climax? Again, a very well-written story. It told itself. It was a natural build-up to the climax. Did the introduction and transitions help you to better understand the narrative? Yes, I thought it was a very good introduction. It set the stage. I thought Dan's explanation of the interlude, the one-year interlude, also set the stage for the rest of the story. Was the speaker able to establish and maintain eye contact with the audience? Yes. Even though he was reading from his phone, he still looked up pretty regularly and had good eye contact. Did the speaker appear to be spontaneous during the presentation? I thought you were more spontaneous when you talked about the interlude. Your face kind of lit up and you got a little more pizzazz there. I thought that was a little better than the story. What did I like about the presentation? The thing I particularly liked was the Texas drawl. I like that. And what could you have done better? I think you could have used the stage a little more. You were planted firmly in the middle, so maybe for different sections of the story you could have moved to different parts of the stage. And I think you could have used a little more vocal variety. Thank you. Number 8.
Happy to do that. Good evening again, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home, especially Suzanne. Congratulations on a very well-organized speech. That was the point of this exercise, and you chose a topic that was just inherently good for this because of the 3 points of Qigong. So I'll go through the points in the manual. Speech value, interesting and meaningful to the audience. I was so wrapped up in it, I assume everybody else was. Yeah, okay. That was enough. Yeah. Preparation, research, years of practice. She's obviously got the research. Rehearsal, maybe not quite as much, or we wouldn't have had this time issue. Organization, as I said, the speech lent itself to that, and you nailed that very well. Opening. I would suggest that you open with your question, then do the preview of your 3 main points. That would flow a little more logically to me. And then after you preview those 3 main points, you go right into them. Body, did it flow smoothly and appropriately? Yes, you went very clearly through those points. And the thing that struck me was this could be an intimidating topic full of unfamiliar terminology, but your clarity in presenting it made it so easy to follow and understand, and I love the way you involved the audience and gave us a little taste of what you were talking about. Conclusion, you had an excellent closing statement, but you muffled it a little bit by saying, well, I'll just stop there. I don't remember the exact words, but it's something like,
Had something to do with integrating all the three
right.
treasures.
You had it. You just
Okay.
needed to stop right there. I think I'd mentioned the things you would do differently to make it more effective. Just to come back to what I liked. I love the use of your hands, the audience involvement, the clarity, the sincerity, and the concrete examples. Thank you.
Thank you, Emery. We've just concluded the prepared speeches section of the meeting, and now we'll go to our more impromptu speeches, our extemporaneous speeches. For those of you who aren't familiar with table topics, we have a table topics master who selected topics for your 1-minute speech, 1 to 2 minutes. You don't know what the topic will be until you get up here. Now's the time for courage among you all. So let me introduce our table topics master, Santoria Rush.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and everybody at home. I have some wonderful table topic questions today. So, do I have any volunteers? From? Remember, you can take time to think about the question before you answer.
Check this out.
Here's the question. Have you ever said something to somebody that you regret? What was it and why did you regret saying
Okay. A friend of mine, good evening, Toastmasters, table topics master. Who's any guests here? You're a guest? You're a guest. Someone's a guest. Thank you. And viewers at home, welcome. I have a friend who lived in Fairfield for about 3 years, a fellow student at MUM, and he and I played music together and played a lot of disc golf. And for those of you who know what disc golf is, it's frisbee golf. Basically, 18 holes. I'm not going to go into it, but anyways. So we're good friends, and I believe he wanted to come visit because he lives in Decorah now, and wanted to come visit. And I live in Fairfield. I'm kind of renting out a house, and I basically said, sure, come over. And then the next week I told him he couldn't come because there was something that came up. And maybe a small thing, it seems minuscule, whatever it is. But I think the reason that it appeared to be hostile or I kind of needed to vigorously defend myself in that position of saying, no, I don't want you to come stay here. I apologize. I think in the past, I feel good. What's the word? I feel upset when I let other people down. Right? It's a simple thing. You don't want to let someone down. So you promise them something and you let them down. It doesn't feel good. And I forget the exact quote, but with the question. But so that was a situation where I regretted what I had said. It wasn't really like, I hate you, get out of my life kind of thing. So it wasn't like an aggressive statement. It was just something that I maybe would have been better off for everybody if I just said, hey, just come stay, come visit Fairfield. You missed Fairfield. It would have been brief. So, yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind. Just when you promise something, follow through on your word. That's a lesson I learned. So.
Would our guests like to volunteer? Samuel?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I have a really good question for you. Okay. You can astro project. I mean, you can go back in time and talk to yourself when you're 18 years old. With all the wisdom you have now, what are 3 things you would tell yourself, knowing that if you tell yourself those 3 things, it can change your whole future? Remember, you have 30 seconds to think about your response. Okay?
Okay. Again, my name is Samuel. I'm a student in Monash University of Management. Today is my first day in Fairfield and in this program. So I think it's for you welcoming, warm welcoming. So I expect a question, 3 things that might, portions that might change my life today would be. Actually, the question, when I think of it, I come with a point, especially one question. That is, when I was 18, I was okay with my behavior, school or education, but one thing that I am not good at was my interaction with my mom. You know, I'm from a family of 6 and the firstborn. Even that I'm the role model of the family. Because everybody follows, especially in our situation back home. I'm from Eritrea. We have so much social interaction. So, you know, my mom and my dad, they love each other, but there are times that they go high and yelling at one another. But most of the time, I was a kind of the side of my dad. Weird, but there are things that make me to be with him. So one day, just I was yelling at her, and I have to go to school, which is very far from home. That is, you have to go there, and it's another city. So when I go, just I don't greet her or I didn't say bye like the mom that you deserve. Okay, mom, this time go. I just crying. Because this is not the way that you have to say bye from your mom. And I don't get a chance even to see her now. For 2 years, she's back home. So I always regret for this thing. It might be one of the points that had it been this different thing that, or had it been a good condition with them at the time, I wouldn't feel guilty this time. And the second one, you know, I'm the firstborn. Oh, yeah.
One's a good one. That was
Okay.
good.
Okay, well, that's all for table topics today. Oh, who qualified table topics?
Both of them qualified. Bruna did in 2 minutes 34 seconds, and Samuel did exactly 2 minutes.
Oh, let's vote. Oh,
Yeah,
vote.
so what you're gonna follow.
Okay, let's vote for.
And then you're gonna wanna call national reasons you're evaluating.
Oh,
Table topics of that.
okay, let's welcome Nisha
to evaluate table topics.
Thank you, Santeria, Madam Toastmasters, members, guests, and viewer at home. Everyone's speech was vigorous. They were vigorously speaking about the table topics that they were given. We had 2 speakers today, and both of those were very fantastic and clear in explaining their ideas. So, our first speaker was Prana. The question was, have you ever said anything that you have regretted? And he very well responded to this question. He took his time to think about the question, and he greeted the audience eventually in the last. And then when he explained, he was standing here. He had a very good position. He was explaining with a very good hand movements. When he was explaining about the golf and music, he even asked the people, because some people he realized that some people doesn't know the golf, 18 holes golf, so he asked the question to the audience. That was really good. And he was so clear and straight to the point, like saying to his friend for not allowing him to stay at his place. And he even gave the why he regretted, because this was the question, why and what. And so he had a very strong postures, very good eye contact, and very good body movements. I really liked this speech. And our next table topic speaker was our guest, Samuel. He is fairly new to this place and to Fairfield, and he took his time to say about the topic. He had an excellent eye contact. When he had a question of go back in time and 3 things that you would like to change yourself when he was 18 years old. Initially, he well introduced himself, and I really like this one because he was guest at our Toastmaster today. And then he had a very excellent hand movement. He started to say because of my communication skills initially, and he was the idea, okay, there was something about the communication that he regretted. And he had a very strong voice. And in the end, because of the time limitation, he could not say more, but we were really looking forward for his speech. I really loved his speech. Thank you.
Forgot to.
No, yeah. We'll take care of it.
Okay.
Mr. Timer, which of the evaluators, including the table topics evaluators, qualified?
All of them qualified.
Could you read their names, please?
Jean, she did in
Not the times, just the names.
Just names.
Jean, Craig, Henry, and Mahesh.
Thank you. Please take a moment to vote for the best evaluator. Mr. Timer, could you tell us which of our speakers qualified?
There are 2 speakers qualified, Andrew and Dan, and Suzanne qualifies.
You got it? Okay, so the 2 speakers are Andal and Dan. So please vote for best speaker, Andal or Dan. And now we will have our reports. Mr. Timer, could you give us the timer's report, please?
We have 3 main speakers. Andrew, she did it in 7 minutes 6 seconds. Dan did it in 9 minutes 30 seconds. And Suzanne exceeded time by 8 minutes 16. She did it in 8 minutes 16 seconds. And however, we had 2 table topics. Prana did it in 2 minutes 24 seconds, and Samuel in 2 minutes 30 seconds. And for our evaluators, Jean did it in 3 minutes 22 seconds. Rick did it in 2 minutes 32 seconds. Henry in 2 minutes 58 seconds, and Mahesh in 2 minutes 32 seconds.
Thank you. Maya, would you like to give the grammarians report, please?
During the meeting, I do find a few good use of English that I would like to share. And though she said that brain is unlimited and it's ourselves to put limits to it. Also, you don't know what you can do until you push it. I think that's good chicken soup to help us better utilize our brains. And in Susanna's speech, I heard some familiar Chinese words like Dao, Qi Gong, Dan Tian. I suppose they are from Chinese. And as a Chinese, it's my first time to hear that if you tap on top of your head and breathe deeply and slowly, you can feel enlightened. Well, I think it's easy to do, and everybody should have a try every day. Also, she mentioned that when you have mindless work, you can appreciate the energy from trees, flowers, and universities. Also, for me, I will do this every day. And I'm happy to see that fellow members are eager to use the word of the day vigorous. We have Emery, Jean, Rana, and Mahesh use the word. Great job. Thank you.
Isaac, could you give us the odd counter report, please?
Here are the figure words spoken tonight. And I said one soul, two birds, two hymns. Dan said one hymn. Susanna said one arm, one soul, and two hymns. Jean said two patatas. Ron said one sharp and one arm, and Samuel said two arms.
Santoria, tell us a joke.
Okay, I'm like a photo.
Okay. There was a very small community, and whenever it was someone's birthday, everyone would go to their house and leave a cake, except for one man who lived in the community, Mr. Johnson. And one day when the children noticed this next, why don't we ever do something for Mr. Johnson on his birthday? And parents told her that Mr. Johnson had the worst day ever on one of his birthdays, that's why they no longer celebrate. So this child decided she wanted to find out what the worst day ever was, and asked Mr. Johnson what happened on his birthday that made him not want to celebrate it. So Mr. Johnson decided to tell her and said, well, I woke up early that morning on my birthday, and would you know that my wife, she didn't say happy birthday to me. It put me in a bad mood. So I went to work, and my boss, who I've been friends with for 20 years, it was my birthday. He didn't say happy birthday to me. It put me in a worse mood. Finally, my boss' daughter came to the office and said she wanted to show me something at her apartment to fix. And I was thinking, oh wow, maybe today is turning around. It's a beautiful girl. You always wanted to spend some time with her. So finally she gets to her house and she's like, oh, do you mind if I take a minute to go in the bedroom and get something real quick? And he was like, oh sure, I'd be more than happy to wait for you. So when she left, he decided to strip off his clothes and sits on the couch in his underwear waiting for her to come back. And he's like, I never liked working with your father and my wife's total jerk. None of them did anything for my birthday, so I'm really happy I'm getting this special gift from you. So the girl comes out of the room, and as you know it, his family, his wife, his boss say, happy birthday. That was the worst day of his life.
shall evaluate the evaluators. Jean, I want to thank you for sending us those points. It makes the evaluation of the evaluators much easier. You can just focus on how they did their job rather than squeezing it into speed. So thanks again. So Jean, evaluated on Dahl, you greeted her, greeted the audience when you came to give the introduction. You went through all the points of the introduction, including the objectives of the speech. You came back, you greeted the audience again. As usual, you had very deep insight and your speech was very enthusiastic. You diverted a little bit from the manual in that you talked about the value of research and you talked about the last 4 speeches. I thought that was excellent. You combined positives of her speech with things she could do better. You had a clear, logical explanation, and it was easy for the speaker, the person you were evaluating, to pick up your points. So good job. Emery, again, you greeted the audience. You went through all the objectives. You greeted the audience when you came out for the introduction. You had good insight as usual. You were a very insightful evaluator. As you went through the points of the manual, you kind of mixed the positives and areas to improve, but it was a very good balance. And I have something written here. I can't read what it is, but I'm sure it's very insightful. Rick, probably the best evaluation I've done. It was a good intro. I greeted the company, greeted them again when I came out. I went through all the points of the intro. I explained the uniqueness of this manual. I went through all the points. I covered all the points. I had some suggestions. I thought the evaluation was a little dry. Both Jean's and Emery's had some deep insights, and I don't feel like having it was a little mechanical. Mahesh, you gave half of a good evaluation. You gave a very good points, good observations on what they did well. When it came for areas to improve, you didn't have anything to say. It's an important part of evaluating the speaker is to develop those critical thinking facilities. As Jean says, we're using another set of muscles. So going forward, try to think of something. Even if you can't think of anything they did wrong, just think of something they could do. And now it's my pleasure to turn the meeting over to the Toastmaster, Jean Symington Craig.
Thank you. Hey, we are moving right along. We have some awards for tonight. Let's see. How about best table topics? Okay, now we're going to be vigorous now on our drum roll.
Thank you.
Okay. Best evaluator, vigorous again. Me. Okay. I didn't want to take away the energy though, so we gotta have that. So here we go. Okay, and now we have our best speaker. Drum roll, please. Come on up, Dan. Right, and we also have 2 of our Competent Communicator Award ribbons on Dahl for speech topic number 7. And organize your speech. Susanna, come on up. Isn't that great? Smile for the camera.
Smile for the camera.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. And with that, we're going to call back up our president to close us out.
Thank you. I'll ask our guests, tell us one thing you liked about the meeting, Samuel, aside from winning the award.
Yeah, it's really exciting to have such kind of integration or group, because it builds up a lot. You know, when someone is said to be successful, it's not the destiny or something. It's about making difference. So there might be so many people around us, but at least we make some difference that can help us to express at least our feeling. I'm not good at speaking in front of people, but I see now even I make some changes. When I come first in the front, I was a little bit scary. But when I come again, somehow okay. And now, very nice. So yeah, I'm sure it helps a lot. Yeah, it really helps a lot.
We can see that it's very difficult for you to speak. So now what I'd like to do is offer my comments in the spirit of continuous improvement, so we can get better. Some of the things we could do better in the meeting. First of all, is if you're a speaker, send in your speech title to your evaluator and to the Vice President of Education. Please show up to meetings on time. Table topics, Master, you did a good job spreading it around to guests and members. Also, you rose to the occasion. You were kind of surprised by the fact that you came up with some good answers. And as Jean mentioned, read the agenda. You may have more than one role, especially in the summertime. That's it. So we're going to adjourn, unless there's further business, we're going to adjourn the meeting, and Jean and Prana will be available for new Toastmaster training. Yes, Jean.
I just want to say our Vice President of Education, Will Burns, is getting married this Saturday. So send some good vibes.
I have some fresh produce, no pesticides, free from taking.
Help yourselves. So, Isaac, Sudeep, anyone else who feels they're new or would like a little refresher, Jean and Prana, we'll be meeting here for a few minutes to go over an introduction to Toastmasters. Meeting's adjourned.